Let's stop pretending we're being told the truth about history, because we're not. We've been spoon-fed the same guilt-ridden narrative for years, that peaceful, innocent Native Americans were wiped out by evil Europeans with guns, smallpox blankets, and pure malice. That's not history, that's propaganda, and it's time to tear it apart. Where did Native Americans come from? The current theory, and it's backed by solid research, is that Native Americans came from Siberia, crossing the Bering land bridge into Alaska between 26,000 and 18,000 years ago. After sea levels rose, the land bridge vanished, and those early migrants became isolated. There's also evidence that they displaced earlier populations, whose skeletal remains don't match modern native genetics. That's not oppression, that's history. Populations move, conquer, and replace others. Everyone's ancestors did it. Pre-Columbian population. The numbers game. What was the population before Europeans showed up? Depends on who you ask. Some say 18 million, others say 1.5 to 2 million. The higher estimates come from activists who want to inflate the narrative of destruction. But the low numbers match hunter-gatherer population densities worldwide. No massive cities, no large-scale ruins, no complex infrastructure. Just scattered, semi-nomadic groups. So no, this wasn't some paradise paved over by Europeans. It was sparsely populated, and in many areas, already depopulated before Europeans ever arrived. The big die-off. What really happened, yes, native populations collapsed, but not because of some white supremacist master plan. The real killer? Disease. Old world diseases like smallpox, typhus, measles, and flu decimated native communities, often before Europeans even set foot in their villages. This is called a virgin soil epidemic. UCLA's Jared Diamond estimates up to 95% of the native population died from disease, long before they ever saw a European. Entire civilizations, like the Mississippian culture, vanished from sickness alone. So let's be clear, germs, not guns, did the bulk of the damage. Genocide or something else? If there were 2 million natives before 1500 and 400,000 by 1850, that's a big drop. About 80% over 350 years. Sounds bad, right? But that's about a 0.22% decline per year. Now add in some context. Smallpox ravaged Europe for centuries. The Black Death killed up to 200 million people. No one calls that genocide. It's called nature, biology, and the brutal randomness of disease. Were there atrocities? Yes. Were there wars? Of course. But calling it genocide, deliberate, calculated extermination, is historically dishonest. The smallpox blanket myth. Let's kill one of the most persistent lies out there, that Europeans handed out smallpox blankets to deliberately infect natives. This claim is based on 2 letters from 1763. Not policy, not orders, just 2 guys talking. There's no evidence it was actually done or that it worked. In fact, many experts doubt smallpox can even spread that way. Meanwhile, in the early 1800s, the US government tried to vaccinate native populations against smallpox. Not exactly genocide, is it? Intermarriage. The genetic reality. If Europeans wanted to wipe out Native Americans, they sure had a weird way of doing it, by marrying them. Genetic studies show that in 2014, the average white American had 0.18% native DNA. Latinos in the US had about 18%, mostly from Central and South American ancestry. That's not erasure, that's integration. Mitochondrial DNA shows native female lines survived, meaning many native women married or had children with settlers. That's not genocide, that's biology, that's history. Native warfare and brutality. We're constantly told about atrocities by settlers, but rarely hear what native tribes did. Some tribes, like the Comanche, were notoriously brutal. Torture, gang rape, mutilation and scalping were not uncommon. In King Philip's War, native attacks wiped out 25% of Connecticut's white population. In other cases, women were disemboweled, children had their throats slit, and captives were roasted alive or eaten. No, that doesn't make all natives evil. But let's stop pretending one side had a monopoly on cruelty. Today's numbers. Growth, not extinction. Despite everything, disease, war, forced relocation, the native population rebounded, Today there are 6.7 million Native Americans in the US. That's 5 times more than even the highest estimated survivors post-contact. If genocide means wiping out a people, then this isn't it. Population didn't disappear. It grew. What this is really about, this entire narrative of genocide and evil colonizers, is less about history and more about politics. It's designed to generate guilt, especially among white people. Push the guilt button and watch the money and concessions roll in.